Future Media's OneAfrica TV talks to mining professional Stanley Kambonde about his memories of Dr. Sam Nujoma. I am Envaalde Matheus.
Okay, no, my name is Stanley Kambonde. I am a mining professional and currently a candidate legal practitioner. I have been in the mining industry for close to a decade. And my journey with founding started when he funded my postgraduate studies to complete my LLM in oil, gas and mining law in the UK.
Now, maybe you would want to just give us a brief background. How did you reach out to him? Was it an easy thing for you to reach out to him, since by then I want to believe that he had got so much security around him?
Yeah.
How did he manage that?
I mean, Wanda, you need to understand that at a particular time in 2014.
2014,
Yeah, 2014.
Yeah.
I was accepted to the university in the UK. So it was very challenging for me to find funding.
Yeah.
So I reached out to various stakeholders, both in the private and public sector, NGOs, and I could likely say that I made more than 50 attempts.
50 attempts.
Yeah, more than 50 attempts, either talking to businessmen or, to try and fund me. But
And everybody said no.
for those that responded, because majority of people did not respond. So I woke up one day very deflated, about to give up.
Yeah.
And my father at the time saw how deflated I was. And he just asked me to say, he suggested to say, maybe you're asking the wrong people.
Yeah.
And from the top of my head, I asked myself, if there is someone that could likely listen to my plight, who would it be? And automatically, Sam Nujoma. So you can imagine how I laughed at myself, because at that time I was just like any other ordinary citizen. I've never been up close to him. I did not know how to get to him. And, but I made the decision that day to say, if I am going to give up, let the no come from founding father. So I made it a mission to get to him, at least to get an audience with him. And I remember that Dr. Charlie Fete was his personal physician. I reached out to Dr. Ifete to say, could you please get me an audience with founding? And I explained to him my situation, and he said he will see what he could do. So I think 3 months after that discussion, Dr. Ifete called me one day on his way to Etunda at the farm.
Yeah.
And you can imagine I went there with my file, all my CVs and everything, hoping to make a presentation. So I think at the time, Dr. Ifete's suggestion would have been, or the approach would have been to ask founding for a recommendation from the Sam Nujoma Foundation, so that I can use that recommendation as an endorsement when I'm seeking further funding, so that at least it can add some value to my applications. So we got to the farm, and I remember we just got there around lunchtime, and we found them with Honorable Nas Angula. So to our luck, we sat for lunch with founding, and my first encounter with him, coincidentally, I'm also having lunch with him.
Was it that easy to be in his presence, just like you are coming from wherever you are coming from, and all of a sudden you are there? How easy was it to be with him before you even presented your case to say, I'm actually here because of this?
His presence was very magnetic. I could not hold the fork or the knife properly. I'm shaking. But for him, he's just acting normal. But for me, I could not believe it. It was, at that moment, the highlight of my life. So, we ate lunch, and that time we were not actually engaging relating to the reason I came there. So after lunch, obviously I was told to wait somewhere else, and they engaged with Dr. Ifete. And after They were done some minutes after that, maybe 30 minutes or something. He came back in the room and I could hear him talking from the other side as he was walking towards me. And he said, "So, Comrade Mtekulu, you are accepted?" And I said, "Yes, I'm accepted." "You will be the first one to have it." And I said, "Yes, at the time I would have been the first one to have a collective degree with oil, gas and mining law, although there were some people that had oil and gas and some that only had mining.
So
And
the difference here is that oil and gas and law.
yeah, oil, gas and mining law.
Okay, so it's a combination.
It was a combination of everything.
All right.
Yeah, in one course.
Yeah.
But obviously it's part of the extractive industry. So, but I would assume that at the time we would have been not more than five in the country that would have had it. So I told him yes, and he said, "No, these are the people we need to," and he used the word imperialist. Yeah, we should stop
No, I
this.
think he had that thing.
Yeah, we need to get this imperialist to stop exploiting our resources.
Yeah.
So when he said that, then he looked at Dr. Ithete and he said, "No, comrade, we will just fund the young men." That's what he said.
Just like that.
Just like that. I did not even get to the point, and that would have been within a period of less than 5 minutes after we started engaging.
So he just decided after you had confirmed to him that you were probably going to be the first one to
Yes.
do oil, gas, mining and law.
Yes. Oil, gas, mining law. Just when he asked that, and I confirmed it.
Yeah.
And from that moment on, he just decided and said,
So there was no point where he asked you about your family, your father, your origins?
not at all. In eventual fact, I could recall possibly him asking me from which part I was in the north,
Yeah.
but it was never related to him trying to figure out whose child I was or my family lines or anything.
So to him,
I was just an ordinary
you were a
Namibian.
Namibian child.
I was a Namibian child. And on top of that,
Yeah.
I was obviously related to Dr. Ithete,
Okay.
right? So, but other than that, there was no further relations or engagements to try and figure out further.
So after he said we can just fund, then where did the conversation go to?
Then it sort of stopped from going further in terms of the funding.
Yeah.
So it just turned up to be him starting to talk about his stories, and he was just narrating, you know. Yeah, he was narrating a lot of things that day. But yeah, he just started talking about the liberation struggle,
Yeah.
and it sort of went towards he talked about mining,
Yeah.
but he spoke from a perspective of what we need to do to actually be able to unlock it, because mining is the future of Namibia,
Yeah.
and that was where the discussions were going.
But do you recall maybe some of the things, some of the ideas that he was talking about then?
At the time,
Yeah, because that was his thinking, that mining should help people out of poverty, mining should actually grow the economies. Would you recall some of the things that he was talking about?
I would not recall them in that particular engagement,
Yeah.
but possibly as we engage further, those discussions came about
Yeah.
in my subsequent
Okay.
meetings with him,
So this,
which of course it was the topic at the time. So then I came back. And obviously that should have been in September of 2015. And so obviously I'm waiting now for my results.
okay.
I'm waiting for my results. And yeah, so I again called Dr. Ithete just to say, look, just kindly inform founding I'm back. Yeah, and I would really like to get an audience with him just to thank me.
Yeah.
That audience came a few months later. If I'm not mistaken, it should have been, no, I think, yeah, the audience must have came a few months later. Went to visit him at his house in Henty's Bay, and he was very happy. Yeah, he was very proud of me. Yeah, he was very, very proud. It's a moment I never forget because his face, it lit up. And that was when we had our first in-depth discussion, because I had not only gone to present to him I had not only gone to him to tell him that I had passed and that I'm only waiting now to go back for the graduation ceremony. But I'd sort of gone there to seek for his mentorship. Because during that period, it was when I had traveled to Kunene. In my personal capacity, what I had seen on the ground in Kunene sort of touched me. Because when I saw small-scale miners and their hands were, in a cracked and everything, it really drove in me something to say, look, I need to find a solution to this problem. Luckily, at the time, my father was running a business in Kunene, in Opuo. So I saw that when I went to visit him. And it was my father, actually, who, even when I was studying, he was sending me pictures of these trucks with a blue stone, which I came later to realize that it's blue sodalite. So that interaction with the small-scale miners and also my father's introduction to me of these trucks, and obviously me trying to find out what do I do going on forward, because from an employment perspective, I was asking myself, how do I repay this giant of a man who does not seek to be repaid? So when I went to see him, it was just for him he just said, I'm proud of you, and he didn't expect anything else. So I sort of asked, I was asking perhaps if I can just have time with you to seek mentorship, and then we started talking about Kunene. And that is now when I found out that he has this passion for geology. Then the discussions went, and he started talking about how we envisioned the railway coming from Tsumeb to Opuo, not to Opuo, and then Opuo to Cape Freya, because he had envisioned the port of Cape Freya being built. But he said that to unlock the mineral potential in Kunene. And then he would say that Kunene is untapped, it's rich, it can be considered a country within a country. But then he said that the only way to unlock Kunene would be to start from the grassroots level, because you need to respect the traditional norms in the communities. So you can imagine I've got this this passion of, moving towards mining, and here you have your grandfather figure now, your founding president, your mentor, and the person who has made it happen until that point, telling you that you are not.
Do you think that all his dreams, his aspirations, are they being realized, or did people at any time when he was still alive, was there a time when people appreciated him to say, here is a man with so many dreams, or no one ever bought that?
Well, one day it will be very difficult for me to sort of comment on that beyond my capacity of knowing him, because, like I said, in total I've met him 6 to 7 times, and I've only really focused on trying to emulate at least what he has done for the country, and I'm saying this from a perspective of words that he told me, but I'm sure he mentions it a lot, to say that they fought for the political emancipation of Namibia. It's now asked for the youth to fight for the economic emancipation. So my drive from that was just to take that and try and see where can I apply that And Kunene was what I decided to apply that on. But in general, obviously, you know, it's government is government, politics is politics.
Yeah.
So obviously, when there's a change in power, there's a new direction, obviously, which a country should follow.
Yeah.
And I knew that, you know, so I just took it upon myself to say that at least let me be that person, right, who can combine the direction I'm already moving towards and use his burning passion of what he loves, and then I would take that torch and keep it burning.
Yeah. You were fortunate to have known him, for meeting him 6 times, and you are still young. You have also tapped into his thoughts. So, how are you using that information, that knowledge, to say, look, I was so close to him, I was close to him, I benefited from him, I had the conversations with him, and this is what he wanted the Namibian youth to do and to be. How are you using that information, that knowledge, to help other youths who may not have had that opportunity?
So I remember on one of the occasions, Founding had narrated, it's not a story per se. Or let me start here. He had narrated first a story of, if I can recall properly, they were sitting on a balcony, standing on a balcony in Tanzania. It should have been in, he said, I think December 1961 or something like that. But I know the occasion was the inauguration of Julius Nyerere as president of, either president or prime minister of Tanganyika.
Yeah.
So as they were standing on the balcony, his convoy was driving, was driving by. And if I can recall correctly, Founding had indicated that they were standing on the balcony, I think with Emil Apollos, late Emil Apollos, and other towering figures of the liberation struggle. And when he was talking, he was joking to say, and when I saw Nyerere driving, I looked and I told my colleagues, that is me in independent Namibia. And he made a joke to say, maybe they are looking at me because at the time I'm not the most educated.
Yeah.
Neither am I, maybe my English is not fine.
Yeah.
But I told them that is me in independent Namibia. From that conversation or that story, what I drew up from that was the fact that he was a visionary. Because for you to see that in that particular moment, not only meant that you first had to liberate the country and gain independence, but that once you do that, only then can you become president. So for you to have that and understand the challenge in front of you to get to that position where you're envisioning, that is where I drew inspiration from him in terms of that he's a visionary. But on top of that, there was another story he told me to say, if you are walking and you come on a wall, and on that wall you find 99 doors. You can enter any one of the 99 doors to observe, but you should always build your 100th door. Your own door.
So, how did you understand that?
I understood it to mean that I have this qualification. I will likely be in a position where we can get good employment and things. But drawing from what I was playing in my mind to say, how do I repay him? I can't repay him with money. I can't repay him with anything other than possibly trying to tap into that moment where he saw something in me. And I used to think to say, I don't think he saw in me our journey ending just from me graduating and it being stopped there to say that he has achieved something by paying for me to get the qualification. I think he would have wanted me to go further. So what I understood from that story, or what I drew out was, I need to find my purpose in life. I need to find that purpose, to follow it until I can no more. Yeah. And it should be a purpose which would also allow me to help people the same way founding has helped me. Yeah. Let me use my skills, first of all my education, beyond the confines of an office, to really understand what are the key issues in this country in terms of related to mining in Kunene. Yeah. Use that, find a solution to them, but then be in a position to build my own door, right? A door where I have the narrative of what I foresee, a vision of unlocking the true potential of Kunene is. So I embarked on that journey to build my own door. Now at the time, I knew that it can't be built part-time, on a part-time basis. So I had, before I left for the UK, I only had a few subjects left on my Justice Training Center program in order to be admitted as a legal practitioner in Namibia. Yeah. So everyone was expecting me just to first complete it, but I found my heart was just in Kunene. So I gave myself 10 years to find out what are the real issues, and I gave myself that amount of time to at least create a blueprint. I was not expecting to succeed in those 10 years. I was expecting to find out on my own accord what are the issues which I've observed and what are the issues that need to be resolved and what are those issues that need solutions. Once I have that, then I can proceed again to say, what am I going to do in the following 10 years? It will be then to implement whatever skill sets I had or whatnot, to be able to sort out and find a solution to those issues which I've firsthand experienced with the people and which I know that those solutions are tailor-made for those issues.
Mm. Now, just as a matter of closing up, can you just sum up from your experience of meeting him, talking to him, what kind of a man are we talking about here? Maybe to just sum it up to say, from your observations, your conversations and everything else, what kind of a man was he?
Wanda Babes, if you allow me, I think there's something I importantly need to state, and which was an extension of what you had asked in terms of what I had done when I came back. Yeah. So during these 10 years, I have been part of a team that have built a copper mine from the ground up. And that was in Kunene. Mm-hmm. And that was inspired by Founding's love for copper, which was actually also in his thesis. Mm-hmm. And I read his thesis. I read his thesis. And those solutions were not only limited to Kunene or Namibia. Mm-hmm. It was Southern Africa. Yeah. DRC, Zambia.
Because remember that he went to do his research in Zambia.
Imagine.
Yeah.
So building that from the ground up with fellow-minded individuals must have likely taken between, because the ones that initiated the project was 2014 to 2015. We came in around 2016. And between 2016 when I joined, until the first time we could see the plant operating without interruption was only in 2020 of January or February. Okay. And at that time we had just built a road infrastructure of about 20-something kilometers into the mountains. Mm-hmm. We had employed close to 30 employees, of which 98% were local herders, people from the communities and so forth. Yeah. And at the time, we had been negotiating for almost 2 years to get an offtake agreement to supply to Dundee.
Okay.
Right? So it took us from the first time it started operating within a period of 6 years. Was only in 2020. And one can imagine the amount of struggle it takes to get there. So unfortunately, COVID came, and luckily at the time, we had gotten some loads in, but even after that, it was quite challenging after our investors left us and everything.
Yeah.
But I can say that from the inspiration which founding had given me, I not only took it serious when we were talking about copper.
Yeah.
I went to a point where we not only mined it, but we processed it, and we took it, delivered it via a offtake agreement we had to Dundee smelters. Right? That's the first thing. From an educational perspective, I've done a lot of outreach programs in Kunene, of which going on the ground educating people on the laws, but also noticing that there's a disparity between, or there's a non-synergy of the traditional aspects of what's on the ground and how that affects the mining sector directly, because the legal and policy framework is not aligned to pick that up, or to realize that traditional authorities are quite important within that decision-making framework. So that has been what I've done on the ground as well, to commit myself in terms of starting from the grassroots level up. And I'm sure that you know what we've done for Blue Sodolite. Yeah, in Kunene, how we brought awareness to that. Even I can show you after we are done with this, that I actually have, when I speak something, I actually have it here in my house.
Okay.
Yeah, to say that I know Blue Sodolite and I've added value addition to it. And copper, I can tell you that this is the ore and this is the value addition we've added to it. So I just wanted to touch on that. But coming back to what you answered in terms of, maybe if you can just,
I just wanted you to just sum up what kind of a man was Sam Nujoma from your interactions with him, and what you got from the conversations. People would want to know, so what is your take? What kind of a man was he?
Founding was someone who, I don't think he ever considered himself unable to achieve anything. And automatically, that energy he just transferred to you when you're in his presence, whether directly or indirectly. He was a person who believed in education. He was a person who believed in the youth. In fact, for him, poverty and illiteracy were his two, I think, major enemies, right? Because he knew that within the time frame of which he can run his race, he likely will not be able to achieve everything he's fathomed to likely want to achieve. So that is why, as a visionary leader, he knew that he had to equip, especially the youth and the young people, to be able to take the baton and complete the race. Founding was he was a man of stature, not only in the sense of how he carried himself, but how he did not need further justification to carry out a decision which he thinks is just. He will make that decision there and then. And I think it is that type of leadership. Obviously, when you can make a decision, there will always be some who agree with you, some who don't agree with you. But that was the type of man he was. And for me personally, I have considered myself immensely fortunate to have drank from his cup of wisdom, and that I have literally taken it upon myself to find solutions to a problem which he has brought to my attention.